Hi everyone, and welcome to History Kids Club. History Kids Club is a workshop by Alair Village, and it is for children 5 to 12 to participate on a hands-on learning experience about the 19th century. Usually we begin with a brief history lesson and then follow it with a craft. Since we cannot meet in person, we are doing online activities that you can do at home. This week we'll be creating a cross-stitch sampler bookmark. Samplers were created in order to show off the needlework skills and were often created by women and girls throughout their lifetime. Usually it created a name, had the name and date of the creator, as well as the alphabet and several decorations, and sometimes religious or moral text instead of the alphabet. Some of the most common scenes and decorations during the 18th and 19th century were home and gardens. During the 18th and 19th century, they actually began to be taught in schools as part of the curricular for girls. The most popular stitch by that time is the cross stitch, which creates a small, boxy, and regular size stitch. By the 19th century, these were regular and were usually very similar in design from one another because they were part of school, and they were often used as wall decor in homes instead of a reference like they were in earlier centuries. For our sampler, we're just going to do our name, and I'm going to teach you how to do a couple of different stitches. So to get started, you're going to need cloth, thread, and optionally an embroidery hoop. Now you can use whatever you want as far as fabric or threads. You can even experiment with different ones to see what they look like together. So today I'm going to be using Aida cloth, which has these holes in it that are evenly spaced around, so it makes it easier to create regular stitches throughout the sampler. And I'm also going to be using embroidery floss, which is kind of on the thicker size. And in order to use this for cross stitching, you usually want to take 2 or 3 strands of it and separate it from each other. And an embroidery hoop is used to pull the fabric so it's nice and tight and creates a smooth working surface. But it's usually used for bigger pieces, unless if you get a smaller hoop. This one's a little too big for what we're doing today. But you can also use it to display your work as a frame. So I'm going to get started teaching you the cross stitch, which is these square stitches that are regularly spaced around to make an image. And an embroidery needle has a bigger eye than a normal sewing needle because the thread is a lot thicker, and certain designs will have you using multiple colors and threads together. And I already separated the embroidery floss and tied a knot. And to get started, you just want to put your needle through one of the holes and pull it through. You don't want to pull too tightly at the end because you don't want your knot to come through the hole. And then to get started on a cross stitch, you want to just make it the diagonal line upward. So you have this little diagonal line stitch. And for cross stitching, you just want to keep doing that across the row. And if there's a gap between stitches in a row, you just want to skip over and So this has a two hole gap, and just continue stitching. So this I'm going to use as the end of our row, and these are called half stitches, which can be used as like a design choice. And then to begin cross stitching, you just want to start on the end of your row in the bottom hole, and then you cross it over into the top and just create this nice little X. So you can just do and in order to write your name, there will be a guide posted for the different letters of the alphabet. Okay, now that we have a row of cross stitches, I just want to show you the back to show that it creates these nice little lines. Here's our knot. And in order to keep going, you just want to go top to bottom, so you just begin the second row and do the same thing where you go all the way across the row to where you want or where the design you're following tells you to. And then you come all the way back. So I'm just going to do one stitch. Okay. And again, you can just see what the stitches look like on the other side. And then the next thing I'm going to show you how to do is a back stitch. So you use a back stitch to create a straight line that goes through. So again, you can use this for different designs or to outline the cross stitch. So to back stitch, it's called a back stitch because you're basically going backwards. So say you want your line to start right here. Instead of starting here, you want to start a couple stitches over, no more than 2 or 3. And you take the needle, put it through that hole, and then you back it up. So you start ahead of where you want it, and you bring it to the front, and then you just pull it through and you get your straight line. And then to keep going, you again just bring the needle forward a couple of stitches, pull it through, and then go backwards. And you just continue doing that until you get to whatever design you want to. And then once you're done, you just want to take your thread, slip it under a stitch, and when there's a loop, just put the needle through the loop again, tie a knot, and then you can just cut it so there's you don't have this like big long string attached to it. And then once you're done with creating your sampler, in order to make a bookmark, you just want to sew it to the back of a piece of fabric or felt. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, we are a nonprofit and rely on the continuous support of our visitors and patrons. Please, if you can, donate at the link below. and your donations really help us keep running and doing these activities, so thank you.